What if you could build your very own private, off-grid communication network for like the price of a nice dinner? Seriously. Today, we're going to dive into Meshtastic. It's this incredible open source project that lets you do exactly that, using these super cheap radios.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about why you'd even need this when the grid goes down. Then, we'll get into how you can make your own private network. After that, we'll show you how to build a node for about 35 bucks. Yeah, really. We'll also look at the encrypted messaging side of things. And finally, check out who's using this stuff, from hikers all the way to search and rescue teams. So let's just set the scene here. Why would anyone need a communication system that works completely, totally off the grid? I mean, we've all got cell phones, right?
Well, think about it. Our whole world, everything we do, runs on this communications infrastructure that we just assume will always be there. But what happens when it's not? What happens when it all just fails? Well, during big events like hurricanes or wildfires, the moments when you absolutely need to communicate for safety, for coordination, that's exactly when the systems we rely on, our cell phones, our internet, are often the first to go offline. And just like that, you're disconnected. You're isolated.
So, if the main grid is so fragile, what's the alternative? Well, that brings us to the whole point of Meshtastic, building your very own private network.
Okay, so what is a mesh network? It's pretty cool, actually. It's a totally decentralized network. See, your cell phone has to talk to a central tower, but with a mesh network, every single device, we call them nodes, can talk directly to each other, no middleman needed.
And here's where it gets really smart. The slide calls it a digital bucket brigade, and that's the perfect way to think about it. If one device is too far away to hear you, any other devices in between will automatically grab your message and pass it along. This hopping from node to node means the network can stretch over massive distances, way further than just one little radio could ever reach on its own. So what you end up with is this incredibly powerful combination. First, it's decentralized, which means there's no single point of failure. If one node goes down, the network just routes around it. It's also got incredible range. Thanks to LoRa Radio, they've even set a record of 331 kilometers. And of course, it's totally off-grid. No cell service, no internet required. Plus, these things sip power, which makes them perfect for portable or even solar-powered setups.
Okay, so right about now, you're probably thinking, this sounds super complicated and expensive, right? Well, you'd be wrong. One of the best things about Meshtastic is how accessible it is.
Seriously, getting started is a piece of cake. It's literally 3 steps. 1, you get one of the supported radios. 2, you download the free Meshtastic app on your phone. 3, you pair them up with Bluetooth. Boom, that's it. You're now part of a mesh network. And when it comes to hardware, you've got options, for real. You can go the DIY route with a hobbyist board and build a node for about 35 bucks. Or if you want something ready to go out of the box, you can buy one. They've got everything from these super power-efficient little guys, perfect for solar-powered repeater nodes, to all-in-one handheld units that have GPS built right in.
Okay, so we've got our off-grid network, but if you're using this in an emergency, or really for anything, you've got to know your messages are private. So let's talk about the security. How does Meshtastic keep your conversations, well, yours?
Well, for starters, Meshtastic uses AES 256 encryption. If you're not familiar, that's basically military-grade stuff. It's a super robust standard that's used to lock down the content of your messages on a channel. And if you're sending a direct message, just one-to-one, it uses something called public key cryptography, which is even stronger. Okay, now listen up, because this is probably the most important part about security. By default, there's this main channel that everyone can join. Think of it as a public square. It's great for finding other people, but it is not private. So I'm going to say this clearly. For any private communication, you absolutely must create a new channel with your own secret key. Do not skip this step.
Now, the encryption is good. It's really good. But it's not the same as something like, say, the Signal Messenger app. And here's why. Meshtastic is missing a feature called perfect forward secrecy. What does that mean? Well, think of it like this. On a Meshtastic channel, you have one master key. If someone ever steals that key, they could theoretically go back and unlock all the past messages they might have recorded. Signal, on the other hand, is constantly changing the locks, so a stolen key is much less useful. It's a key difference to be aware of.
All right, so let's put it all together. You've got this super accessible, long-range, and secure communication tool. So what can you actually do with it? Well, this is where it gets really cool.
The big one, the absolute game changer, is being able to communicate and coordinate when there are no cell towers, no internet, nothing. This gives teams situational awareness in places where it was just impossible before, unless you had super expensive satellite gear. For emergency responders, this is huge.
And it's not just for one thing. The uses are all over the place. You've got search and rescue teams hooking it into their tactical apps. You've got hikers and campers using it to stay in touch when they're miles from the nearest cell signal. Whole neighborhoods are building their own backup communication grids for emergencies. People are even using it for things like monitoring sensors on remote farms. It's incredibly versatile.
And let's talk about the bottom line, the cost. I mean, look at a commercial satellite messenger like a Garmin InReach. You're paying hundreds of dollars just to get the device, and then you've got a monthly subscription on top of that forever. Meshtastic? It's a totally different world. It's a community project. You buy the hardware once, which we've seen can be as cheap as $35, and that's it. The network is yours. No monthly fees. Ever.
So at the end of the day, what Meshtastic really does is it puts powerful off-grid communication into the hands of everyday people. It's a real, tangible, resilient backup plan in a world that's become so dependent on infrastructure that can, well, break. And that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Is your community's communication resilient enough? When the grid goes down, how will you talk to the people who matter?